Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach and I'm going to take it easy today. I'm recording this right before I go on a holiday break at the end of December. So I really don't want to do any more recording over the break, though I might be motivated to just dive into the big issue of where I'm going to change everything to use a different code generation strategy and all that other stuff. So when I would come back from break, it might all be done. I don't know. I definitely don't want to do any recording. I want to just have fun doing stuff. So this will probably be the last recording I do before I take some time in any event. So we're going to do something simple. And the one I'm going to pick is this one. So I have the same code to create the file name for both a create and a make. So if I go to rock make builder as well, I should see down at the bottom, yeah, it's the exact same code, and that's just not good. So I'm going to move that into a string extension and we'll put some testing around it, and hopefully that will be enough and we can close things up. Though I got to be careful here because there's the rock make. We want to make sure that we have something different there. So that's what I'm going to work on. I already got a branch ready to go, and we'll do that work in this episode and hopefully wrap it up in this episode. The one thing I also wanted to cover is the issue of ref-like types, or ref structs is really what it should be called. And I've noticed I've had some inconsistencies. I also do some custom code generation for these things for span of T and whatnot. And my initial idea was to actually create, like I want to do with pointer argument and pointer handler, like to have specific handlers and stuff for pointers. And I've done that twice now. And I get to the point I'm like, it just doesn't quite work because you have to make a bigger change than what I was thinking. And so when I make the big change for 8.0, that's when I do all the pointer stuff as well. I think I can do this to a certain degree by having just custom types for span of and read-only span and memory, and have those in place for those cases because they would be more common. But if you run into a general ref struct, then I still have to do all the code generation because you can't use generics. Well, I just found out that there is work to be able to pass ref structs into generics. And so you can look at the proposal here, and the syntax, I mean, the thing is that if you read the issue, the syntax isn't the big thing. It's the feature itself. Does that make sense? And what does the feature need to do or not do? And that's true. I think people get hung up on syntax, and yes, syntax is important in a language. You want to make sure that syntax is something that makes sense, for lack of a better phrase. It fits the language. It conveys meaning in just a word or two, or a character, or however the language does it. That still is important. But what's even more important is that the feature underneath the scenes is actually sound and that's doing the correct thing. And so the syntax that you're seeing here, where you have something like allow T to be a ref struct, and you also need a where T is not a box, because you don't want to box ref structs. That, long story short. So there's this whole discussion of, do you not other things? And what about allowed? Is that the right way to do it? But the long story short is that this is definitely some work that's being done. I don't know if it's going to be in C# 13 or 14, or if it ever gets in. It is work that's there. So we'll see. It definitely won't be there in time for me to do what I want to do. So I might still just do the things where a type is of a span of some type, and then move on from there. And then if I can do it in a general generic way, then I'll make an update at that point. All these types should be just for rocks themselves, and people shouldn't be coding against them. They have to be exposed so that you can see them in the generated code, but they're types that are not necessarily meant for people to use. So if people are that's actually an interesting point. I should have in there things like yeah, this is public, but you really should not be able to, you shouldn't be using these. Never really thought of that, but that's for a different time. And then I should have something in the top that says this is meant for, to be used by generated code from rocks or something like that. It is not intended to be used directly or whatever the case may be. So I put that in as a comment to this issue because I didn't want to forget about it and make sure that I remember, hey, this might be coming. Anyway, let's create file names. So come back to here. Let's go to test first, right? We should always have tests. And I think I have string extension tests in here. And so, yes, we want to have test cases. So let's do something like, oh, my keyboard is really slow. Test case, no, case. I had to look at my task manager and see if there's something pounding my computer. I've said this a lot of times recently that I need to get a beefier like desktop machine to do my recording because I don't do it if I travel, which I don't do as much as I did when I was a consultant. I don't do traveling as much anymore. So if I do recording, it's at home. So I'm starting to think, you know what, just it doesn't have to be a top of the line, latest and greatest components, but something decent, something good. And I think that would make the recording experience so much better, but is what it is. Anyway, we want to have a test case. If I look at Rock Create Builder, that will replace all these things with what we expect. And we don't care about what's actually in the string. We just want it to be like global, this, that, what else we have? We had a colon in there. Well, yeah, that, and then a question mark should be a null. And what this should turn out to be is global gets replaced by empty. So we'll have this, those get empty, that gets empty, and we should have this null, right? Oh, underscore on, yeah. And we want to make sure that if we're doing a create, I forget what there's a flag that I have in rocks and I forget what I called it. I think I've moved them all now into here. Is it mock type? That's mocked type. That's not we should be able to just to say create. Yeah, what I want is the actual value. I don't want just because create's everywhere. But that's not members. Will that give me what I want? No, there's too much noise. There's too much noise. What did I call it? I know I have one. Type name option? No, that's that. Not those. Property adornments, mock type, method name options? No, that's not. That's something else. This stinks because I know I have something. And I can't remember what I called it. And I moved everything out of here because I'm like, I didn't want to keep having, is it in builders? Build type, there it is. Yes, I knew I had something. Okay. So we would want to have something like build type dot create. And you probably don't know what that is. And you're going to bark in about 20 minutes because it's taking too long. Yes. And so we want that to be rock underscore create dot g dot cs. And then we also want a case here where this would be make. And then that should be a make. And then we probably want cases that are just without any of this stuff in it. This, that. And then that would just be this underscore rock create. And then in this case, we would also say that it would be that without. Okay. So we want to have a public static void generate file name where the string, it's going to be not null, build type and string expected file name. And what we want to do is just say assert that. And we don't have anything to assert because we don't have anything in our extensions just yet. So let's go down to string extensions and let's make a internal static string generate file name. This string self. And what this will be is it can be one of these. Oh, we also need the name. We need the build type. Build type. And so what this will be is that except self dot replace. Yes. Oh, that's how I'm doing it. Okay. And that makes sense. I actually have the generated, like, is this create or make? This is just the file name itself. And that's true. Let's actually not do that. So if we come into my tests here, we'll take these off. So actually we only need one of each. And we don't care about the GCS. That's just, I mean, we could, but this is mostly just that we want to have a file name based on what we've seen before that will be that. Correct. And so what we want is now assert that input get, what do we call this? Generate file name. Generate file name is equal to expected file name. And this should work because we already put that in there. And so we have all those cases. It's, oh, wait, no, we need a there. And then when we come in here, yeah, that's interesting because we could have 2 underscores. Really, though, the name is not that important. I don't care if the name becomes somewhat ugly or not. You know what I mean? I just want it to be something that is correct. So I think this should work. Let's see what happens. Actually, wait, you can take that out of here, get that out of here. Let's see what this does. Okay, they work, but you may have noticed that I had to change this test condition because I forgot that in the name. So oopsies. So let's go into here now. And what we want to say is, yes, we want to say fully qualified name, generate file name, and then we can take all that off and do it as one. Same thing with the create builder. Generate file name. Arguably, it's a name that doesn't really, because it's a really generating file name. It's just we're sticking that on the end, but it's not the whole file name. It's names are hard. Names are hard. All right, what I'm going to do now is run all the unit tests, integration tests, the other tests, and just make sure that nothing breaks here. I would be shocked if something does, but you never know. I mean, I can easily make a mistake or 20. So hopefully this works though. So I'll run everything and I'll come back if there's an error, or I'll come back and everything should be fine. Okay, I got bored. It took too long to wait for the code generation test to pass. But all of the other tests pass. I'm happy with this. I don't think that that's going to be a problem. So that is one thing I may also do over break, is spend some time on the code generation tests to break up the work so that there's this continual flow of checking things. And I think the way it works right now is it gathers all the types that it can, and then it generates them. I think there's probably a way to make them more efficient. And I just need to get a new computer. I'm almost becoming convinced that that's what I need to do, is just buy a laptop, not a laptop, a desktop, and do that over the holiday break. I don't know. We'll see. But in any event, this is a simple one. This is done, and I'm going to consider this finished. Thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.